Hey Saints, I wanted to do a video. I saw this YouTube video the other day. It was that LDS dating show. You remember that? Well, I actually saw it a while ago, and I've been meaning to do a video on this one because I watched that. I watched that dating show, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I'm married. Uh, it is just crazy out there. And to think that so many people, like over 500,000 people, watch this show about Mormons dating, right? Members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints trying to find someone to date and possibly get married to is it's kind of hilarious. But it was such a wild episode. Um, it just made you realize how hard it is out there. And I guarantee you, if you're married and you watch that, you were just counting your lucky stars that you found somebody. And I know that I am. I know I got really, really blessed in finding my wife. And so I watched that, and there was a comment under the video that I responded to that I thought was really interesting. This person commented and said, the moral of the story, in order to win in dating, leave Mormonism. Cool face emoji. so so this person probably felt the same thing that I thought of, like, whoa, this is a mess. Like, if this is what it's like to date as a member of the church, then maybe you're better off leaving. Well, I've mentioned before in my last video that even I had a problem with the singles ward. I thought the singles ward was just very difficult. It's like it's a very competitive field as far as like dating is concerned. And as my personal experience, that is, as a member of the church going to the singles ward, you feel like you're kind of like just like everybody else. It's very hard to stand out. But the interesting thing is that when I left, now I'm not recommending this, okay? I'm not recommending this. But when I left, I was no longer ordinary. I was a freaking unicorn. I mean, a 26-year-old virgin who knows how to hold down a job, who doesn't party, doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, and dated seriously. I was a freaking unicorn out there amongst these non-LDS women. So I don't know if that played a part in me actually finding somebody to get married to while I was outside of the church, but I had qualities that were attractive to the woman who became my wife, and hey, thank God for that. The interesting thing is, a lot of those qualities were qualities that I learned as being a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But when you're in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, those qualities don't stand out. That's just what everybody does. So, look, it is hard, okay? I feel, and I think it seems so much harder. Like, these young people, look, twice these people's age, okay? I know sometimes people say I look young, but I'm actually an old man, okay? And for me, I was like, man, it seems even harder. It seems like men and women have very different views right now when it comes to religion, when it comes to politics. It's harder for them to find places to meet, it seems, because so much of sociality is virtual now, right? Social media. That it just did not make me envy these people. So I don't blame them for trying anything, even a dating show. But even though my personal experience was I found a wonderful woman outside of the church, I think that this comment is wrong. I don't think the moral of the story is to leave Mormonism. I respond Nah, we are still more likely to marry, stay married, and have kids. Peace emoji. And it's just true. That's what the data holds up. And this person responds, quote, more likely to stay married part is actually not true anymore. Divorce rate for Mormons between ages 18 and 30 has significantly increased within the last 20 years. It's still increasing. Doesn't cite any data, okay? And that's just the important thing. If you're going to say something like that, at least tell me where you got that information, because I'm going to show you some data here that does not hold that up. That divorce rates have risen. I think divorce rates have risen for everybody in North America, but you'll see in the data that divorce rates are significantly lower despite secularization, even amongst the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, especially amongst the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I respond, source, American Religious Identification Survey in 2009. Latter-day Saints had the second lowest divorce rates in the U.S. at just 9%. 2014 Pew Research had Latter-day Saint divorce rate still at 9%. 2024 B.H. Roberts Foundation showed temple marriages 3 times lower than national average. So despite rising divorce rates, active Latter-day Saints still are far more likely to stay married than any other group in the U.S. other than Orthodox Jews and Muslims. If you want to leave, as in you want to leave the church, by all means, it's a free country, but don't skew the data. And I think that's important. I never got a response, whatever a source this person had to make them believe that, they couldn't provide it to me. So I'm going to go ahead and show you this data one by one, the 3 data sources that I mentioned. And if I have the time, I'll link them in the description. But let's see, the first one is the American Religious Institution Survey, I think it was, of 2008. And this shows the marital status of religious traditions. And if you look at Latter-day Saints, we have one of the lowest single, never married categories, one of the lowest single living with partner categories. That's to be expected because we practice the law of chastity. Married, we have looks like we have the highest in the married category at 68%. Divorced and separated is at 9%, one of the lowest. The only one that's lower than us is Jews. And so, yeah, again, this data shows that we have a very low divorce rate. Now, that was in 2008, but I move on to Pew Research. So we'll go to the Pew Research. It says marriage rates for different denominations. And this shows, you'll see the data shows for 2007 and 2014. So you'll actually see how the difference between 7 years here. And if you look at Mormons, so of course, you know that most people still call us Mormons. It's okay. Married, very high. This is for 2007 at 71%. Divorced, 9%. Okay. Now let's go to 2014. Marriage rate is dropped at 66%. We're seeing this all over. Marriage rates declining, birth rates declining. It even affects us. It just seems to affect Latter-day Saints so far to a lesser degree. And divorced and separated was only at 7%, it shows, at 2014. So still one of the very lowest. And third but not least, I'm going to show the B.H. Roberts Foundation did a big study where they sent out all this this questionnaire through the Latter-day Saint corridor, so areas that have high Latter-day Saint populations. And you'll see here that people who are sealed have a much smaller divorce rate, divorce percentages, than people who are not sealed. So if you look at Latter-day Saint corridor, so this would be a high Latter-day Saint population. People who were sealed first, even before they were married, 12% divorce rate. People who were sealed later, so maybe they were married and then got sealed, 16%. Never sealed, 38%. So Latter-day Saints, most likely Latter-day Saints, even who aren't sealed, have a lower divorce rate than the general population at 38%. And then if you look at the non-Latter-day Saint corridor, that's down at the far right, you'll see so these would be Latter-day Saints that maybe don't have high populations of Latter-day Saints. Sealed first at 14%, still very low. Sealed later, 23%. Never sealed, 61%. So maybe they have, it matches more the national average. So again, the answer no is do not leave the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That is not the answer. What is the answer? Actually, I don't know. I'm not in my 20s anymore. I'll leave that to y'all young people out there. What do you guys recommend? How did you guys meet your spouse? Let me know if you guys are older. Let me know how you guys met them back in the day, like me, or whether you're in your 20s and you're just recently married. How'd you meet your spouse? So still a lot of people meeting in LDS colleges. Shoot, I have a buddy at church that I asked him how he met his wife, and he met her using Mutual, the LDS dating website. So, hey, to each their own. I also want to read, well, I'm not going to read it, but I will talk about it a little bit. Something that was very inspirational to me. Actually, I will read it. Give me a second. And we are going to go to Corinthians. Chapter 7, 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Now this is Paul's advice on marriage here, but he says something, and because I remember when I came back to the church, my wife was unbaptized, and she had to go through her own faith journey. That's not for me to decide. I left it totally up to her how much she wants to be involved when it comes to church, when it comes to faith, because faith is a journey, right? Which is why the scriptures, they use journey language when they describe it. It's a path that you walk, right? And that has to happen on an individual basis. And so this is something that I really liked. And I'm going to read this here. It's later here in the chapter. Here it is. And let's start in 10. And unto the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord, let not the wife depart from her husband. Let's go to verse 12. But to the rest speak I, not the Lord. If any brother hath a wife that believeth not, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away. So he's like, if you are a believer, but your wife is an unbeliever, but she loves you and wants to stay with you, yeah, you should stay with her. You've made a commitment to her. And the woman which hath an husband that believeth not, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. So again, vice versa. Just because you have an unbelieving spouse does not mean you should leave them at all. You've made a lifelong commitment to that person, and that commitment is important. The love and bond that you guys share is very, very important, and you should be truthful to the vows that you made. Let's see. Now look in verse 14. Look what it says here. It's a beautiful verse to me. Okay, and I hope that it inspires some of you too. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, the believing wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband, the believing husband. Else were your children unclean, but now they are holy. But if the unbelieving depart, let him depart. A brother or a sister is not under bondage in such cases, but God hath called us to peace. So if somebody wants to leave, that's not something that you can stop. Okay? They have their agency to choose. And then he says in verse 16, for what knowest thou, O wife, whether thou shalt save thy husband? Or how knowest thou, O man, whether thou shalt save thy wife? I absolutely love these verses. What a beautiful encouragement to those of us who may have interfaith marriages, that the believing husband or the believing wife sanctifies the other and makes their children holy. Like, that's wonderful. And personally, for me, my wife is a very good person. She was a very good person even before she was baptized. And then she chose to be baptized on her own, and she walks the path, she walks the faith journey, and that is her agency, her choice. And my duty as the husband is to guide as best as I possibly can and to be a good example of a believer. And I'm so thankful for my wife, and what an amazing blessing. And after watching what's going on out there in the world today, I am so lucky to have her. But I want to know what you guys think. How'd you guys meet your spouse? Do any of you have interfaith marriages? I'm very interested. And until next time, saints, remember to read, do good, and do it in the name of Christ.